Yeah, July 1983. Real programmers don't use Pascal. It does look really good. Hear me out on why this is actually a great idea to read these type of articles. Dude, you get to like look. Think about all the people that are arguing over like React or Go or Rust right now. We get to like see it again, but from a hilarious vantage point of 40 years later. Yeah, so we're gonna do that. Okay, a letter to the editor of Datamation, Volume 29, Number 7, July 1983. I have long ago lost my dog-eared photocopy, but I believe this was written and is copyrighted by Ed Post, Tektronix. Oh, Tektronix. I interviewed at Tektronix. Wilsonville, Oregon, USA. The Story of Mel, or a related article. Back in the good old days, the golden era of computers. Interesting. Do we look at the past as golden era? It was easy to separate the men from the boys, sometimes called real men and quiche eaters in literature. What the hell is a quiche eater? Can someone just let me know what quiche eater was? Is this what does this mean? If you eat eggs and spinach and that somehow makes you into a real man, you have a crazy ass definition of manhood. Is this arcade version of Soy Boy? I think this is the arcade version of Soy Boy. Eggs are based, for show. Quiche eater is a modern day soy dev. Let's go on Twitter really quickly. Let's just go to Let's go to TJ. All right, we're gonna go to Tej, and we're just gonna pick one of his and respond with quiche eater. Literally been dreaming about writing OCaml and somehow making money. Oh my goodness, I just realized I don't know how to spell quiche. Yep, I could have never spelled that one correct. I wasn't coming in close. Quiche eater. No one has any idea what it means, okay? No one has any idea what it means, but can we, just for the sake of doing this, can we just ratio TJ with it so he'll become excessively confused as to what the hell just happened? He's gonna look at this and go, what the hell just happened? What's a quiche eater? He's gonna be so confused, and it's gonna be so funny. It's gonna be so funny. All right, during this period, the real men were the ones who understood computer programming, and the quiche eaters were the ones who didn't. Oh my goodness, quiche eaters is soy devs. Oh my goodness, it's such soy devs. Oh my goodness. Oh, let's see. A real computer programmer said things like do 10 I equals 1 1 through 10. Is this Fortran that we're looking at? And a bend. They actually talked in capital letters, you understand. And the rest of the world said things like computers were too complicated for me and I can't relate to computers. They're so impersonal. A previous work one points that real men don't relate to anything and aren't afraid of being impersonal. But as usual, times change, and we are forced today with a world in which little old ladies can get computers in their microwave ovens. 12-year-old kids can blow real men out of the water. All I heard was little kids blowing real men. This is crazy. This is a crazy article. Out of the water playing asteroids and Pac-Man, and anyone can buy and even understand their own personal computer. The real programmer is in danger of becoming extinct, of being replaced by high school students with trash 80s. Dude, this is such an amazing article. Oh my gosh, this article is from 1983, and it is like, dude, is this not today? Dude, tell me this is not just JavaScript on the server. This is just JavaScript on the server. Again, life imitates art, dude. Oh my goodness, all life is art, but unknown to thee. All chance thou cannot see. Bruh, we type on a keyboard for a living. The concept of real men sailed long ago for us, dude. We are all quiche eaters. Dude, this is just quiche eaters calling other quiche eaters quiche eaters. That's it. I'm going to use quiche eaters so often, though. Dude, that's such a hilariously funny phrase. Yeah, right. Okay, quiche eater. This is a clear need. Let's see. There is a clear need to point out the differences between the typical high school junior Pac-Man player and a real programmer. If this difference is made clear, it will give these kids something to aspire to, a role model, a father figure, if you will. It will also explain to the employers of real programmers why it would be a mistake to replace the real programmers on their staff with 12-year-old Pac-Man players at a considerable salary savings. Hold your horses, quiche eater. Hey, hold your horses, quiche eater. The easiest way to tell a real programmer from a crowd is by programming language he or she uses. Real programmers use Fortran. Quiche eaters use Pascal. Oh my gosh, it's like Go versus JavaScript. I'm the real man programmer. I use Go or Rust or Zig. You use JavaScript on the server, you quiche eater. Oh my gosh, this is so good. It's such a reflection. Nicholas Worth, the designer of Pascal, gave a talk once at which he was asked, how do you pronounce your name? And he replied, you can either call me by my name, pronouncing it Vert, or call me by my value, worth. One can tell immediately by this comment that Nicholas Worth is a key cheater. Fucking key cheater. The only parameter passing mechanism endorsed by real programmers is call by value return, as implemented in the IBM 370 Fortran G and H compilers. Real programmers don't need all these abstract concepts to get their jobs done. They're perfectly happy with a key punch, a Fortran, a 4 compiler, and a beer. Real programmers do list processing in Fortran. Real programmers do string manipulation in Fortran. Real programmers do accounting, if they do it at all, in Fortran. Copy this phrase. Copy, paste. Again, Twitter. This will ruffle this at least one feather will in fact be ruffled. Okay, the capitalizing of all of this is just painful as it is. Bunch of C programmers are a bunch of key cheaters. Nice. Okay, we didn't get enough likes on there. I really wanted to see TJ weep. Real programmers do artificial intelligence programs in Fortran. Hey, can we all just take a moment here? Can we just take a moment and look at this? You know, during this time was just the ending of the previous real big AI hype cycle. I don't know if you know this, but AI in the 60s, the 70s, and early 80s was like, AI is going to solve all of problems. You won't need to do all this work. It's going to be all these things. It's going to be able to solve all of your problems. It's going to be able to do all your laundry, all your cleaning. That's why you had all those like early 60s and 70s cartoons, Bugs Bunny, that had the houses with all the robots that would do everything for everybody, because that's what was been told. And then in the late 80s and early 90s, the first AI winter really hit. We're only into the second AI summer. I hope you know that. The first AI summer lasted for like 20 years before they realized it was impossible after promising. Bunch of key cheaters promising that the future was going to be amazing. I wish it was winter already. I wish it was winter already as well, because AI is not taking your job. In 1983, it was taking your job. The John McCarthy era, it was. The new AI winter will be coming. If you can't do it in Fortran, do it in assembly language. If you can't do it in assembly language, it isn't worth doing. The academics in computer science have gotten into the structured programming rut over the past several years. They claim that programs are more easily understood if the programmer uses some special language constructs and techniques. They don't all agree on exactly which constructs, of course, and the example they use to show their particular point of view invariably fits on a single page of some obscure journal or another. Clearly not enough an example to convince anyone. When I got out of high school, I thought I was the best programmer in the world. I could write an unbeatable tic-tac-toe program, use 5 different computer languages, and create 1,000-line programs that worked. Yes, really. Then I got into the real world. My first task in the real world was to read and understand a 200,000-line Fortran program, then speed it up by a factor of 2. Imagine if that was your job. Yeah, we're going to need this literally twice as fast. Here's 200,000 lines. Good luck. Any real programmer will tell you that all the structured coding in the world won't help you solve problems like that. It takes actual talent. Some quick observations on real programmers and structured programming. Real programmers aren't afraid to use go-tos. Hell yeah, brother. Lua mentioned real programmers can write 5-page long do loops without getting confused. Real programmers like arithmetic if statements. They make the code more interesting. Real programmers write self-modifying code. What? That's a crazy statement, especially if they can save 20 nanoseconds in the middle of a tight loop. Real programmers don't need comments. The code is obvious. Okay, this last one, generally true. Okay, this is generally true. By the way, do loops are, I've been telling you guys, do loops are the Lord's loops. Okay? If you're not using do loops, do whiles are, in fact, the Lord's loop. Since Fortran doesn't have a structured if, repeat, until, or case statement, real programmers don't have to worry about not using them. Besides, they can simulate when necessary using assigned go-tos. By the way, repeat until is the hardest construct. If do while is the Lord's loop, repeat until is Satan's loops. Okay? They are. Do you understand the difference between do while and repeat until? Repeat until is until it's true. Okay? It's not the Lord's loop. Okay? That's crazy. You keep looping until it's false, not until it's true. This is a Claymore household. There's no magicians in this household. And second off, there's no repeat untils. Gosh, this is ridiculous. We have a few rules here, and that's one of them. Data structures have also gotten a lot of press lately. Abstract data type structures, data structures have gotten a lot of press lately. Man, that's just such a funny thing to read in today's age. Abstract data type structures, pointers, lists, and strings have become popular in certain circles. Worth, the above mentioned key sheeter, actually wrote an entire book contending that you could write programs based on data structures instead of the other way around. As all real programmers know, the only useful data structure is the array. I mean, if we're real with ourselves, most programming structures actually just are arrays. Strings, that's just an array. A linked list, I mean, that's pretty much an array if you really try. You could make it. Strings, lists, structures, sets. Sets are just arrays. These are all just special cases of arrays that can be treated that way just as easily without messing up your programming language with all the sorts of complications. The worst thing about fancy data types is that you have to declare them, and real programming languages, as we all know, have implicit type based on the first letter of the 6-character variable name. Is that like a Fortran? Is that like a Fortran, early Fortran call out right there? Isn't Fortran you can't use like the first 7 characters? The early Fortran is like you can't, the first 7 characters were like not allowable on every line, so you have to be indented a certain amount. Was that a lang limit? Early Fortran, you could just reassign numbers. I could write something along the ideas of 1 equals 7, and from here on out, 1 now officially equals 7. How crazy is that? You could just reassign constants. What? Yeah, dude. Dreambird mentioned that's crazy. It is crazy. Wild era. It was a wild era. That's cool. That's not cool. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. 1 times 1 equals 2. In Fortran, we could potentially make this a thing. We could have real mathematics. I still haven't actually listened to this fella's argument for the 1 times 1 actually equals 2, but I'm very, very excited about it. I want to listen to it. What kind of operating system is used by real programmers? Yawn. CP/M? God forbid. CP/M, after all, is basically a toy operating system. Even little old ladies and grade school students can understand and use CP/M. Unix is a lot more complicated, of course. The typical Unix hacker never can remember what the print command is called this week. But when it gets right down to it, Unix is a glorified video game. So people don't do serious work on Unix systems. Dude, it's so good. They send jokes around the world on a UUCP net and write adventure games and research papers. It almost sounds like Haskell. No, real programmers use OS 370. A good programmer can find and understand the description of the IJK 3051 error he just got in his CJL manual. A great programmer can write CJL without referring to the manual at all. A truly outstanding programmer can find bugs buried in 6 megabyte core dump without using a hex calculator. I've actually seen this done. Dude, that's wild. What a crazy skill to have. Dude, what a crazy skill to have to just be like, let me see that hex dump. It's right here. That's the problem. Don't you see it on character 1,000,047? It's right there. Do you not see that? Like look at that byte. It's completely wrong. Blonde, brunette, redhead. I know, it's the Matrix. It's the Matrix all over again. OS is truly, let's see. I don't know why I'm yawning. I'm awake, which is weird. I slept good last night. All this talking is making me want to yawn. OS is a truly remarkable operating system. It's possible to destroy days of work with a single misplaced space, so alertness in programming staff is encouraged. The best way to approach the system is through a key punch. Some people claim there is a time-sharing system that runs the 3070 or the 370, but after careful study, I have come to the conclusion that they were mistaken. What kind of tools does a real programmer use? In theory, a real programmer could run his programs by keying them into a front panel of the computer. Back in the days when computers had front panels, this was actually done occasionally. Your typical real programmer knew the entire bootstrap loader by memory in hex and toggled it in whenever it got destroyed by his program. Back then, memory was memory. It didn't go away when the power went off. Today, memory either forgets things when you don't want it to, or remembers things long after they have been forgotten. Legend has it that Seymour Cray, inventor of the Cray 1 supercomputer and most of Control Data's computers, actually toggled the first operating system for the CDC 7600 in on a front panel from memory when it was first powered on. Seymour, needless to say, is a real programmer. What a great legend. What an amazing legend. Just like this person, The Cray 1, dude, the Cray 1 inventor, legend has it, created the operating system from memory in hex, punching it in. Seymour was actually cracked, dude. That's cray, dude. That's cray, dude. I am not. Dude, I'm a key sheeter. Yo, that's cray, dude. Cray is cray. That's cray. One of my favorite real programmers was a systems programmer for Texas Instruments. One day, he got a long-distance call from a user whose system had crashed in the middle of saving some important work. Jim was able to repair the damage over the phone, getting the user to toggle in disk I/O instructions at the front panel, repairing system tables in hex, reading register contents back over the phone. The moral of this story, while a real programmer usually includes a key punch and a line printer in his toolkit, he can also get along with just a front panel and a telephone in emergencies. Yeah, dude. You think Zig is a low-level program. Oh my gosh, I'm not a low-level programmer at all. Where's low-level learning? This is disgusting. In some companies, text editing no longer consists of 10 engineers standing in line to use a 029 punch key punch. In fact, the building I work in doesn't contain a single key punch. Real programmers in this situation has to do his work with a text editor program. Most systems supply several text editors to select from. The real programmer must be careful to pick one that reflects his personal style. Please, Vi, get mentioned. Many people believe that the best text editors in the world were written at Xerox Palo Alto Research Center. Why is Xerox Palo Alto Research Center so ballin' back at this time period? Red black trees came out of there, and they used red and black because apparently that was the best printer color, or B, the alternative story was that was the only colored markers they had for use on their Alto and Dorado computers. Unfortunately, no real programmer would ever use a computer whose operating system is called Smalltalk, and would certainly not talk to a computer with a mouse. Okay, this last one's pretty fair, as I highlight with the mouse, but I'm just letting you know. You know, when you're programming, using a mouse is pretty offensive. Okay, pretty offensive right here. How's the weather ass operating system? Some concepts in these Xerox editors have been incorporated into editors running on more reasonable named operating systems. Emacs and Vi being two. Let's go. VI mentioned, let's go. The problem with these editors is that real programmers consider what you see is what you get to be just as bad a concept in text editors as it is in women. If they talk to women at all. No, the real programmers wants you ask for it, you got a text editor. Complicated, cryptic, powerful, unforgiving, dangerous. Techo, to be precise. Damn. Okay. Emacs, the best OS. It just needs a decent text editor. You have cancellation incoming. Dude, we're going to cancel this guy in 1983. How dare you write this? It has been observed that Techo command sequence more closely resembles transmission line noise than readable text. One of the more entertaining games to play with Techo is to type your name in as a command line and try to guess what it does. Just about any possible typing error while typing with Techo will probably destroy your program, or even worse, introduce subtle and mysterious bugs in a once working subroutine. How did someone think that that was like an idea we should pursue? How did that happen? When was this written? 1983. When it comes to the time to fix the program, hold on. For this reason, real programmers are reluctant to actually edit the program that is close to working. They find it much easier just to patch the binary object code directly using a wonderful program called SuperZap, or it is equivalent on non-IBM machines. This works so well that many working programs on IBM systems bear no relation to the original Fortran code. In many cases, the original source code is no longer available. When it comes to time to fixing the program like this, no manager would ever think of sending anything less than a real programmer to do the job. No quiche eater structured programmer would even know where to start. This is called job security. This cannot be real. This cannot be real that it cannot. I refuse to accept this. That they would actually super zap binary and throw away the source code just to make things work. How much IQ do you have to have? You don't need source control when there's no source. This is satire. It must be. It's not satire. It's satire in the sense that calling these people real programmers, they're not real programmers. They're creating a pain in the ass. Pascal is not a real programming language. But these, I believe, I recognize some of these stories. So some of these have to be real in the sense that, goodness gracious. Some programming tools not used by real programmers. Fortran preprocessor like Mortran and Rat4. Is that Fortran but all goofed up? The cuisine arts of programming. Great for making quiche. See comments above on structured programming. Dude, I love this idea of calling people quiche eaters. We're bringing this back, boys. We're bringing back, dude, screw soy devs. They're a bunch of quiche eaters. Dude, just a bunch of key sheeters. Source language debuggers. Real programmers can read core dumps. Compilers with array bounce checkings. They stifle creativity, destroy the most interesting uses for equivalence, and make it impossible to modify the operating system code with negative subscripts. Worst of all, bounce checking is inefficient. I gargle all that quiche. Dude, I would have gargled so much quiche. Dude, what do you think a real programmer would think of a Haskell pick? What do you think they would think? Source code maintenance systems. A real programmer keeps his code locked up in a card file because it implies that his owner cannot leave his important programs unguarded. Interesting. I think this one's largely missed in our day and age, but interesting. Where does the typical real programmer work? What kind of programs are worthy of efforts of so talented an individual? You can be sure no real programmer would be caught dead writing accounts receivable programs in COBOL or sorting mailing lists for People magazine. A real programmer wants tasks of earth-shaking importance. Literally, real programmers work for Los Alamos National Laboratory writing atomic bomb simulations to run on Cray-1 supercomputers. Real programmers work on the National Security Agency decoding Russian transmissions. NSA mentioned, Tor Network mentioned, possibly Cloudflare mentioned. It was largely due to the efforts of thousands of real programmers working for NASA that our boys got to go to the moon and back before the Ruskies. Okay, that's actually pretty fair. The int computer is the int computer is pretty crazy. Okay, the int computer is actually crazy. It's just a bunch of integers like x. I mean, that thing was crazy. There was a advent of code in which had the int computer as one of the challenges. I actually kind of want to go back to that one and try to beat through it. Maybe that's how I'll do Zig. Maybe that's a better usage of my Zig time is try to build the int computer. Huh. Boeing mentioned. The computers in the space shuttle were programmed by real programmers. Real programmers are at work for Boeing, designing the operating systems for cruise missiles. Well, obviously, there's no more real programmers at Boeing. I mean, they got defeated by a single non-needed instrument that made a plane dive. Dude, that's crazy, by the way, that we live in a world so interconnected that some sort of sensor got locked in or whatever it was that was not even supposed to be part of like the driving force of the it had low testing because it was considered a non-essential piece, and it like just destroyed people's lives because of that and just nosedived. Some of the most awesome real programmers of all work at Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California. Many of them know the entire operating system of Pioneer and Voyager spacecraft by heart. With a combination of large ground-based Fortran programs and small spacecraft-based assembly programs, they are able to do incredible feats of navigation and improvisation, hitting 10-kilometer wide windows at Saturn after 6 years in space, repairing or bypassing damaged sensor platforms, radios, and batteries. By the way, anyone that says talent doesn't exist, this is what talent and hard work looks like. Okay, I don't think I could be this guy. I'm not sure if I could be that person. I'm not sure if given 20 years I could be this person. Right? I'm not sure if I could do this. Allegedly, one real programmer managed to tuck a pattern matching program into a few hundred bytes of unused memory in Voyager, a spacecraft that searched for, located, and photographed a new moon of Jupiter. That's pretty freaking awesome. Okay? That's pretty awesome. Dude, this is a Giga Chad article. The current plan for Galileo spacecraft is to use a gravity assist trajectory past Mars on the way to Jupiter. This trajectory passes within 80 plus or minus 3 kilometers of the surface of Mars. Nobody is going to trust a Pascal program or Pascal programmer for navigation of those tolerances. By the way, that is really close. That's like not that far. Dude, we are such key sheeters. Dude, the shade and the key sheeting is real right now. I am a key sheeter. I am a key sheeter. I'm a key sheeter. I am a key sheeter. I know for a fact, looking at the evidence, I'm officially a key sheeter. As you can tell, many of the world's real programmers work for the U.S. government, mainly the Defense Department. This is as it should be. Recently, however, a black cloud has formed on the real programmers' horizon. It seemed that some highly placed key sheeters at the Defense Department decided that all defense programs should be written in some grand unified language called Ada. Oh my goodness. For a while, it seemed that Ada was destined to become a language that went against all the precepts of real programming, a language with structure, a language with data types, strongly typing, and semicolons. Okay, I agree with that last part, okay? I can't do semicolons anymore. It's just Biden telling us to use Rust all over again. Let's go. Oh, hey, hold on one moment. Hey, did we just get a raid? Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob. Hey, are you here? Can I react to your video? Can I watch it? I started watching it and I was like, oh, this is a great video. I don't know what your policy is. I was going to actually whisper you Just never got around to whispering you. I was actually forced to learn CS 101. My favorite part time was separating functions from procedures. Pa- Rob loves Pascal. Wait, this article is from 83. Yes, this article is from 83. It's written like a parody from this year. Isn't this wild? Isn't it just like crazy that this feels like a parody? It feels like we are reading something that's designed to make fun of JavaScript on the servers versus using Rust or Go or Zig or something. But it's not. It's not. It's like this is just a program. This is real. It's crazy. In short, a language designed to cripple the creativity of the typical real programmer. Fortunately, the language adopted by the DoD had enough interesting features to make it approachable. It's incredibly complex, includes methods for messing with the operating system and rearranging memory. The Edgar Dijkstra doesn't like it. Dijkstra, as I am sure you know, who was the author of GoTo's Considered Harmful, a landmark work in programming methodology applauded by Pascal programmers and quiche eaters alike. Besides, the determined real programmer can write Fortran programs in any language. I do love that. I can write a Fortran program in any language. You give me a language, I will make it happen. The real programmer might compromise his principles and work on something slightly more trivial than the destruction of life as we know it, providing there's enough money in it. There are several reasons real programmers build video games at Atari, for example, but not playing them. A real programmer knows how to beat the machine every time. No challenge in that. Everyone working at Lucasfilms is a real programmer. It would be crazy to turn down the money of 50 million Star Trek fans. This joke is still good today, dude. This joke pisses some people off. The proportion of real programmers in computer graphics is somewhat lower than the norm, mostly because nobody has found a use for a computer graphics yet. On the other hand, all computer graphics is done in Fortran, so there is a fair number of people doing graphics in order to avoid having to write COBOL programs. Okay, so that's a fair statement. I feel like I too would write Fortran to avoid COBOL. Like that's reasonable. Generally, the real programmer plays the same way he works with computers. He is constantly amazed that his employer actually pays him to do what he would be doing for fun anyways, although he is careful not to express this opinion out loud. Occasionally, the real programmer does step out of the office for a breath of fresh air and a beer or two. Some tips on recognizing real programmers away from the computer room. Okay, guys, before we even look at this, shield your eyes. I want you just to replace this. Just replace this with Arch User. I know this is so good. At a party, real programmers are the ones in the corner talking about our operating system security and how to get around it. At a football game, the real programmer is the one comparing the plays against his simulation printed on 11 by 14 fanfold paper. At the bench, the real programmer is the one drawing flowcharts in the sand. At a funeral, the real programmer is the one saying, "Poor George," and he almost had the sort routine working before the coronary. In the grocery store, real programmer is the one who insists on running the cans past the laser checkout scanner himself because he could never trust key punch operators to get it right the first time. Little do they know the future where we all get to run it all by ourselves. Dang, this is so wild. I cannot believe this is from 83. Oh, what sort of environment does the real programmer function best in? This is an important question for the managers of real programmers. Consider the amount of money it costs to keep one of the staff. It's best to put him or her in an environment where he can get his work done. A typical real programmer lives in front of a computer terminal surrounding this terminal are listing of all programs a real programmer has ever worked on, piled in roughly chronological order on every flat surface in the office. Some half dozen or so partly filled cups of cold coffee. Occasionally, there will be a cigarette butts floating in the coffee. Some cases, the cups will contain Orange Crush. We are talking about the time when you had to leave your stack of punch cards at the door for the computer operator to enter, and you never touched the program. Yeah, dude. Asmonbald, this is the Asmonbald of programmers. Unless he is very good, there will be copies of the OSJCL manual and the principles of operation open to some particularly interesting page. Taped on the wall is a line printer Snoopy calendar for the year 1969. Okay, you got me. What is this one? Anyone want to get this one right? Now that's real code. That's real code right there. You wouldn't understand. You're a bunch of quiche eaters. Strewn about the floor are several wrappers for peanut butter filled cheese bars, the type that are made pre-staled at the bakery so they can't get any worse while you're waiting in the vending machine. Pre-staled. Hiding in the top left drawer of the desk is a stash of double stuffed Oreos for special occasions. Underneath the Oreos is a flow charting template left there by the previous occupant of the office. Real programmers write programs, not documentation. Leave that to the maintenance people. This guy, let's see. Article is wild. I was taught microcomputer arc. Be a guy like this, but his sins of choice was a PDP 11. Oh, the PDP 11. Okay, that's right when C was coming into being. We've read about this. I think I just so far this just something that I really take away from this article that's just like kind of mind numbing is just like how much of this we repeat ourselves. I cannot believe how much of this is just life today. I can see myself in this article. A real programmer is capable of working 30, 40, and even 50 hours at a stretch under intense pressure. In fact, he prefers it that way. Bad response time doesn't bother the real programmer. It gives him a chance to catch a little sleep between compiles. If there is not enough schedule pressure on the real programmer, he tends to make things more challenging by working on some small but interesting parts of the problem for the first 9 weeks, then finishing the rest in the last week in 2 or 3 50-hour marathons. This not only impresses the hell out of his manager, who was despairing of ever getting the project done on time, but creates a convenient excuse for not doing documentation. In general, no real programmer works 9 to 5 unless it's the ones at night. Real programmers don't wear neckties. Real programmers don't wear high heel shoes. Real programmers arrive at work in time for lunch. Real programmers might or might not know his wife's name. He does, however, know the entire ASCII or EBCDIC code table. IBM would fine you for not wearing sock garters. That can't be real. They did not fine people on dress code, did they? Insane. Dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. Real programmers don't know how to cook. Grocery stores aren't open at 3 in the morning. Real programmers survive on Twinkies and coffee. What of the future? It is a matter of some concern to real programmers that the latest generation of computer programmers are not being brought up with the same outlook on life as their elders. Many of them have never seen a computer with a front panel. Hardly anyone graduating from school these days can do hex arithmetic without a calculator. College graduates these days are soft, protected from the realities of programming by source-level debuggers, text editors that count parentheses, and user-friendly operating systems. Worst of all, by the way, Unix falls under the user-friendly operating system. Worst of all, some of these alleged computer scientists managed to get degrees without ever learning Fortran. Are we destined to become an industry of Unix hackers and Pascal programmers? This key sheeter has clairvoyance. This key sheeter has actual clairvoyance. From my experience, I can only report that the future is bright for real programmers everywhere. Neither OS 370 nor Fortran show any signs of dying out despite all the efforts of Pascal programmers the world over. Even more subtle tricks like adding structured coding constructs to Fortran have failed. Oh, sure, some computer vendors have come out with Fortran 77 compilers, but every one of them has a way of converting itself back to Fortran 66 compiler at the drop of an option card to compile do loops like God meant them to be. Hell yeah. Even Unix might not be as bad on real programmers as it once was. The latest release of Unix has the potential of an operating system worthy of any real programmer. 2 different and subtly incompatible user interfaces, an arcane and complicated teletype driver, virtual memory. If you ignore the fact that it's structured and even C programming can be appreciated by real programmers. After all, there's no type checking. Variable names are 7, 10, 8 characters long. And the added bonus of a pointer data type is thrown in, like having the best parts of Fortran and assembly language in one place, not to mention some of the more creative uses of define. I know this is like a joke and satire to some level, an entire 8 characters long, yeah. But I have done some work in some clever C programming, and it is emotionally painful. The amount of time one spends just to get anywhere. It hurts. No, the future isn't that all that bad. Why, in the past few years, the popular press has commented on the bright new crop of computer nerds and hackers, leaving places like Stanford and MIT for the real world. From all evidence, the spirit of real programmers lives on in these young men and women. As long as there are ill-defined goals, bizarre bugs, and unrealistic schedules, there will be real programmers willing to jump in and solve the problem, saving the documentation for later. Long live Fortran. Can I invite this guy on? I mean, first off, we'd have to find the person. Probably minimally, the person has to be 70s, assuming they were 20 years old when they wrote this. Minimally like 70. Wait, 60. 60 would be the minimum. Fairness B, real men don't eat quiche. New York Pocketbooks, 1982. That's so good. Worth and algorithms and data structures equals programs, 1976. Ilson R, recent research in text processing. IEEE trans professor community, volume, this one. FedSeth C, theory and practice of text editors, or a cookbook for Emacs. Disgusting. The psychology of computer programming. Yeah. Dijkstra Edgar. Dijkstra. Let's see. On the green language submitted to the DoD. Rose Frank. The joy of hacking. Okay, nice. And the hacker paper. Psychology Today. Okay, so this was the last two right here. I would like to thank Jan E, Dave S, Rich G, Rich E for their help in characterizing the real programmer. Heather B for the illustration. Kathy E for putting up with it. And ATD Bang AVSDS Mark for the initial inspiration. I don't know who that is, but God bless their soul. Man, this was such a good article. Holy cow. I don't know what the takeaway is. Hear me out. God bless you equals Southern insult. Most excellent. All right, so here's the takeaway. Does that mean Theo is correct? Should we all just use Clerk, JavaScript on the server, use Vercel, React server components? Are we being the real programmers? I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think we're being the programmers. I think that's complete crazy. I'd much rather use Go. Go is way, 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 way better. I can't even imagine actually attempting to be a quiche eater to that level. No. Come on. But I mean, I'm still a quiche eater based on this. But I don't know. I think a good thing to remember, especially reading this article, is that there was a lot of people who had a very similar mentality during that age. Like, why would you ever want structured programming? Why would you ever want all these kind of things? And maybe the real takeaway is that don't be too hard and fast in the things, because like don't be too hard and fast in the things that you consider the best way to do things today. Because as you can read with that article, the reflections of today are the same as they were in 1983. NeoVim is great. You download it, well, you open it up and you start using it. Arguments about typed languages aren't about how hardcore we are. It's about removing some problems and struggles. Yeah, but they all add problems and struggles. You eat a variety of quiches. I'm a quiche connoisseur based on what I'm seeing right here. Real programmers now simply use the right tool for the job and get things done instead of masturbatory hacking old real programmers. You forgot to put quotes around use the right tool for the job. Use the right tool for the job means exactly what you think it means. It means React server components, TypeScript. Never roll any form of your own auth, because that's impossible. With OAuth, using an OAuth library is impossible. You need to use a service. It's literally impossible. It's like actually impossible to do it yourself. The right tool for the job is just rhetoric. It just is. Hey, well, this was great. Hey, know your history. History literally repeats itself. If you didn't believe the phrase history repeats itself, I think we should all believe that phrase now, because history literally repeats itself. Again.